thought getting downstairs would save me. That was the only thought in my head as my feet slammed against the steps, my breath tearing through my chest, my hands sliding along the cold wall to keep from falling. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I already knew what I would feel if I did. The stairs seemed longer than they had any right to be. Each step echoed too loudly, as if the house itself was listening. By the time my foot hit the bottom, my lungs were burning and my legs were shaking so badly I had to grab the railing just to stay upright. Silence. No footsteps behind me. No breathing. For a moment, I let myself believe it. I stood there, bent over, hands on my knees, trying to slow my breathing. The air down here felt different, cooler, heavier. The kind of stillness that presses against your ears until you're aware of every tiny sound your own body makes. I waited. 5 seconds. 10. Nothing followed me down. Okay, I whispered to myself, though my voice sounded wrong in the open space. Too small. I straightened up and looked around. The lower floor was darker than the upstairs hallway, but not completely black. A faint glow seeped in through a small window near the ceiling, just enough to outline shapes. Walls, a doorway, and straight ahead, the room. I hadn't noticed it at first, but the moment I did, my stomach tightened. The door was open. I didn't remember opening it. I took one slow step forward, then another, each movement careful, deliberate. The floorboards creaked softly beneath my weight, and every sound felt amplified, as if I were announcing myself to something that didn't need to see me to know where I was. The room was empty. That was the first thing I registered. No movement, no shadows shifting, just bare walls, dull and pale in the low light. In the center stood a simple wooden table. Beside it, a single chair. I stopped at the doorway. I'd been here before. Earlier, the memory slid back into place with a sickening clarity. The chair, my eyes locked onto it. There, on the backrest, was the mark. An unmistakable handprint, smeared dark against the wood. Fingers stretched unnaturally long, the palm pressed flat as if someone had gripped it hard. It looked old and fresh at the same time, dried at the edges but darker in the center. I hadn't touched it before. I was sure of that. My heart began to pound again, slow and heavy, each beat echoing in my ears. The room might have been empty now, but it hadn't been. Someone or something had been sitting there. Recently, I stepped inside. The air in the room felt colder, and not just because of the temperature. There was a wrongness to it, the kind you feel in your bones before your mind can catch up. I circled the table slowly, keeping my eyes on the chair, half expecting it to move. It didn't. I reached out, hesitating for a moment, then placed my fingertips lightly against the handprint. Cold. Not just cool wood, cold in a way that made me pull my hand back instinctively. A shiver ran up my arm, settling deep in my chest. The mark wasn't raised or sticky. It was flat, as if the chair itself had absorbed whatever had touched it. Behind me, something creaked. I froze. The sound was faint, barely more than the settling of old wood, but it came from the direction of the stairs. Slowly, I turned my head, my pulse roaring in my ears. The doorway was still empty. No shape stood there. No shadow moved against the wall. The staircase beyond was dark and silent. I exhaled shakily and turned back to the table. That was when I noticed the chair had moved. Not much, just a few inches, angled slightly away from the table now, as if someone had pushed it back to stand up. I stared at it, my mind scrambling for a rational explanation. The floor wasn't slanted. There was no draft strong enough to shift solid wood. I hadn't touched it. My throat tightened. "Hello?" I said, hating how small my voice sounded. No answer. I backed away from the chair, my heel bumping lightly against the table leg. The sound made me flinch. I didn't trust this room anymore. I didn't trust anything about this house. I turned and headed for the door. Halfway there, the light changed. It was subtle at first, a dimming that I might have missed if I hadn't already been on edge. The faint glow from the window weakened, shadows thickening in the corners of the room. I looked up. The window was still there, still uncovered, but the light coming through it looked blocked, not completely, just enough to make the room feel smaller. as if something were standing between the window and the outside. I didn't wait to confirm it. I bolted. The moment my foot crossed the threshold, the sound started. Breathing, not loud, not rushed. Slow and measured, just behind me. Every instinct screamed at me to run faster, but my body felt heavy, as if the air itself had thickened. The breathing didn't get closer, but it didn't fade either. It stayed exactly where it was, a constant presence at the edge of my awareness. I burst into the hallway and veered toward the far end, away from the stairs. The breathing followed. I could feel it now, not on my skin, deeper than that, like pressure, like awareness pressing against the back of my neck. I skidded to a stop at the end of the hall. There was nowhere else to go. A blank wall stood in front of me, bare and unmarked. No door, no window, just solid plaster. The breathing stopped. The silence that followed was worse. I stood there frozen, my back to the wall, waiting for something, anything to happen. Seconds stretched on, each one heavier than the last. Then I felt it, a presence, closer than before, not touching me, not yet. I swallowed hard and forced myself to turn around. The hallway was empty, no figure, no shadow, just the same narrow space I'd run through moments ago. But the air felt different, charged, as if the space behind me wasn't empty at all, just occupied in a way I couldn't see. I took a step forward. The floor creaked. Immediately, the pressure behind my neck intensified. It didn't grab me. It didn't shove me forward. It just stayed there, impossibly close, matching my movement exactly. I walked, one step, another. With each step, the sensation grew stronger, like standing beneath something enormous, just out of sight. My skin prickled, every nerve screaming that I was being watched from inches away. I stopped. So did it. That was when I understood. It wasn't chasing me. It never had been. It was waiting for me to realize it had always been there. The house was silent again, but I could feel it behind me, patient and unmoving. Whatever it was, it didn't need to rush. It didn't need to scare me anymore. It already knew. I closed my eyes. For a split second, I considered turning around completely, forcing myself to see it. Maybe if I did, the fear would break. Maybe it would end. But deep down, I knew the truth. Seeing it wouldn't make it leave. It would just mean it had no reason to stay hidden. I opened my eyes and took a slow breath. And that's when I felt its breath, warm and deliberate, brush against the back of my neck.